In Middle-earth, three monumental wars define the legacy of the world. The first brought the wrath of the Valar against Morgoth, reshaping the lands of Beleriand. The second united elves and men against Sauron, deciding the fate of the One Ring. And the third, the War of the Ring, was the ultimate struggle for freedom, where courage and sacrifice triumphed over shadow. Today, we journey through these great wars and their lasting impact on Middle-earth. Before we continue further, if you could take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel, it would mean the world and help us share more tales of Arda. Now, let's return to the story. Arda, in its youth, was a land of wonder. Mountains like silver spires, rivers running bright under golden suns, and forests singing with life. But even then, shadow stirred. From the rebellion of Melkor, the Black Foe, darkness spread, not quietly, but in war. These conflicts were cataclysmic, reshaping lands, kingdoms, and destinies. The War of Wrath sank Beleriand beneath the waves. The War of the Last Alliance forged the courage of elves and men, yet claimed kings and heroes alike. The War of the Ring brought destruction, hope, and the end of one age. Each war was more than a battle. It was a turning point of history, where courage was tested, choices weighed heavily, and the fate of Arda hung in the balance. From the clash of armies to the trembling of mountains, from rivers of fire to shattered cities, these were wars that defined the ages. And yet, through all the destruction, a single truth endured. Evil can be resisted, though never fully destroyed, and even the smallest spark of courage can change the course of history. Now, let us journey through these great wars, the first, the second, and the third, and witness how the world itself was forged in their fire. Chapter 1. The War of Wrath, the first great cataclysm. The First Age was a time of sorrow and beauty intertwined. The lands of Beleriand stretched from the icy north to the golden shores of the west, ruled by elven kings whose power rivaled the stars. Yet Morgoth, the Black Foe, had cast his shadow across the land. His fortress of Angband was a citadel of iron and flame, and his servants, the Balrogs and dragons, terrorized the north. But it was not Morgoth alone that shaped this war. It was the scale of the armies, the clash of divine will and mortal courage. Eärendil, half-elven mariner, became the spark that would ignite the end. Sailing west to Valinor, he bore a Silmaril in hope and plea, demanding the intervention of the Valar. And they answered. From the west came the host of the Valar, Maiar, radiant as the dawn, armies of elves clad in silver and white, and men of noble hearts, sailing across the seas to meet the darkness. Across the plains and mountains of Beleriand, war raged like a storm unchained. For 40 years the land trembled. Balrogs descended from Angband, dragons darkened the skies, and armies clashed beneath Thangorodrim, shaking the peaks to their foundations. Entire cities burned, rivers boiled, and the earth itself groaned under the weight of battle. The greatest of dragons, Cologon the Black, rose, blotting out the sun with his wings, yet even he fell, crushing the mountains in ruin. And at last, Morgoth himself was bound and cast through the door of night, banished beyond the world. But the cost was unimaginable. Beleriand was shattered, its lands sunk beneath the sea. Great elven realms were destroyed, and men scattered. And yet one servant endured, Sauron, who would rise again in the Second Age. The War of Wrath was not merely the fall of Morgoth. It was the first reckoning of Arda itself, a war whose echoes shaped all that followed. Chapter 2: The War of the Last Alliance, the Second Great Reckoning. The Second Age began in uneasy peace. Sauron, Morgoth's greatest lieutenant, took his place as the new Shadow. Fair in appearance, he taught the elves the arts of craft and ring-making, and under his guidance, the rings of power were forged. But his hand hid deceit. In the fires of Mount Doom, he created the One Ring, a weapon to dominate all life. When the elves discovered his treachery, Eregion fell in flame, and Sauron's shadow spread across Middle-earth once more. From the west, the heirs of Númenor arrived, Elendil and his sons, survivors of a sunken island, bearing the last glory of men. To them joined the elves, led by Gil-galad, High King of the Noldor. Together, they forged the last alliance of elves and men, raising armies unprecedented in size and determination. The Battle of Dagorlad erupted upon the plain before Mordor. Orcs swarmed like locusts. Trolls and men of the east surged in unrelenting waves. But the combined might of elves and men, their swords and banners shining under the sun, could not be broken. 7 years the siege of Barad-dûr endured. Day after day, armies battered the walls, and night after night, Sauron struck back with all the fury of a fallen god. Gil-galad and Elendil fell in the final duel, but Isildur, wielding the shattered Narsil, cut the One Ring from Sauron's hand. Sauron's physical form was destroyed, but his spirit endured, bound to the lost ring. The kingdoms of men were weakened, the elves began to fade, and the ring, carried by pride and desire, was lost, waiting silently for the next age. This war was not only a victory, but a lesson. Even the greatest might fall, and even triumph carries the seeds of future peril. Chapter 3: The War of the Ring, the Final Struggle. The Third Age passed in shadows. Sauron returned, unseen at first, building armies, corrupting kings, and seeking the One Ring. Middle-earth was divided, weary, and uncertain. But the smallest hand bore the weight of history. Frodo Baggins, guided by Gandalf, inherited the ring and set forth on a journey that would span mountains, rivers, and lands teeming with darkness. 9 companions formed the Fellowship, bound by oath and purpose, each facing impossible peril. War erupted across the west. At Helm's Deep, the fortress walls trembled under Saruman's tide of Uruk-hai. Arrows darkened the skies, fire swept the ramparts, and every soldier fought not merely for life, but for the survival of all they loved. At Pelennor Fields, Gondor's armies clashed with Mordor's legions in a battle that shook the plains and echoed across the mountains. The Witch King of Angmar fell to Éowyn and Merry, proving courage can defy prophecy. Aragorn, heir of Isildur, revealed himself fully as the leader of men, wielding the reforged Andúril. The armies marched to the Black Gate, creating a diversion to allow Frodo and Sam the chance to destroy the ring. In Mount Doom, the world itself seemed to tremble. Frodo faltered, claimed the ring for himself, and Gollum intervened in the final moment, falling into the fire with his prize. The ring was destroyed. Sauron's power shattered. The Third Age ended. Yet the cost was enormous. Cities lay in ruin, heroes fell, and the elves prepared to depart. Still, The war proved that even the smallest, most overlooked acts of courage can change the fate of the world. Chapter 4. Reflections on the Great Wars. 3 wars, 3 reckonings, 3 legacies etched into the bones of Middle-earth. The War of Wrath, a godlike devastation, ending an age and reshaping continents. The War of the Last Alliance, a testament to unity, courage, and pride, shaping the Second Age forever. The War of the Ring, a triumph of mercy, hope, and the smallest hands over overwhelming darkness. Through all, one truth endures. Evil can never be fully destroyed. It must be resisted, again and again. And in every age, courage can defy darkness, leaving a legacy that echoes through history. Which war changed Middle-earth the most? The answer depends not on power, but on the hearts that bore it. The War of Wrath, the first great ending. The War of the Last Alliance, the second great reckoning. The War of the Ring, the final victory. From ruin arose new dawns. The elves departed, men took the helm, and shadows remained as reminders that vigilance and courage are eternal. The story of the 3 great wars is not only of dark lords and armies, but of choices, heroism, and the enduring light that follows the deepest shadow. Join us next time as we explore the rise of Morgoth and how the first Dark Lord forged the very concept of evil in Arda.